My cat Freddie loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Today on CityCast Houston, we made it to the end of the week, so we're breaking down all of the news that impacted you here in H-Town with ABC 13 news reporter Pooja Lodhia. It's Friday, April 25th. I'm Raheel Ramzanali, and here's what Houston's talking about. Pooja, what's up?
Happy
Welcome back
Friday!
in. I'm so excited to talk to you, friend. And the reason I'm excited is I want to start with something happy, okay? And you're the happiest person I know. It's just been one of those weeks. There's a lot going on. What made you happy this week? Please give me a happy story to get us going here.
Well, I need to tell you what I'm doing tonight because you are going to be so impressed with me. My 9-year-old nephew is very excited that I'm doing this, but I am going to see Smash Mouth.
What?
They're playing at Miller Outdoor Theater. It's going to be a total blast. I mean, talk about a blast from the past, right?
Oh my gosh. Hey now, you're an all-star.
Exactly.
Get your game on. Go play.
You know what's funny? I should actually ask you because you have kids. My 9-year-old nephew, and it seems like all these songs are having like a resurgence, but he has so many kind of inappropriate versions of that song. And I'm like, first off, how do you know that song? And second off, why are you doing this?
Because he's what, in the 3rd or 4th grade right now, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what you do. That's what you do in elementary school.
Guess
So my 10-year-old isn't listening to Smash Mouth, I don't think, but she's listening more to like Tribe Called Quest and Krungbin. Because she listens to stuff that I listen to. And then, of course, she has her Taylor Swift, like she's a Swiftie, of course. You got it, right? But yeah, we're going more like curated music that I enjoy.
Well, I think, those Smash Mouth songs have been in like Shrek. They've been in a couple of things now.
That's
so
right.
I feel like a lot of these kids all of a sudden know these songs that I'm like, out of all of the songs from my childhood that it's this one? Really?
Yeah, that's so cool. And it's a free concert. I love this.
Yes.
Like Houston is having a resurgence with music, isn't it? It just that makes me so happy.
I got to bring up your big experience at Cactus Music because as soon as I heard about this event, I thought about you.
Yeah, so I went to the Krungbin concert. They played for free to start the celebration of Cactus Music's 50th anniversary. And that's pretty impressive. A record store making it to 50 years. Vinyls got popular again during the pandemic. Everyone started collecting them and there was like a resurgence. But for a long time, record stores were done for. Like Cactus Music had to move locations. They had to downsize a little bit. And I'm so happy that, they are celebrating 50 years and they're doing a bunch of free concerts as well. So this is like a good time to be a Houstonian and just take in free music. I'm like shocked that Smash Mouth is playing for free. That is so cool.
I love it. And you know what? I just actually pulled up an article from the Chronicle on Cactus Music being around for 50 years. You wouldn't believe some of the artists who have performed there. The Ramones, Alice Cooper, Philip Glass, like Patti Smith, Jeff Buckley. It's amazing.
Isn't that incredible?
And they're still getting amazing acts. So shout out to Cactus Music.
Yeah, like they just had a Grammy-nominated band play for about 200 people for free.
I love it.
I couldn't believe it when I got there. I was like, there's no way they're going to do this. It's impossible. And sure enough, they came out and they were so grateful. They were so thankful for being at Cactus Music, Krungbin was. So it was just an experience. And I know you're going to have a blast tonight at Smash Mouth. My happy story is about a park as well. And this made me so happy. I don't know if you saw this or not, but there was an announcement this week that there's going to be this huge new art installation at Mason Park in the East End called the Arch of Time. Now, this 100-foot solar arch is going to power the entire park, all right? So there's solar panels. It's beautiful, and it's also going to serve as a backup power area during emergencies, which, okay, we know we're going to have, right, with hurricane season. Pooja, it looks amazing. This is $20 million, and it was all funded by donations. In my opinion, it kind of rivals the Bean in Chicago. It is so beautiful. It's not done yet, but like the mock-ups, it's wild.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I'm going to have to look that up. But the East End has really, I think, grown over the years and really has become a place for like the coolest art installations. You look at all the murals out there. It's just a cool place to drive around.
Agreed. I love it when the East End gets more light, and now that people might be traveling just to go see this huge art
Yes.
installation and solar panel arch. This is so amazing. I just love the people in the East End. I love the culture. I love the art, as you mentioned. It's become like this cool new neighborhood, and it's seeing a resurgence and a revival. So shout out to them. I love my folks in the East End.
Me too. And it's got the best food in Houston.
Oh,
Undeniable, right?
Yes, of course. Of course we go back to food, right? Us
Always.
too. Picture this. You're walking through your neighborhood, and instead of scorching pavement and endless concrete, you're shaded by beautiful, towering trees. Cooler temps, cleaner air, a greener Houston. That's what Trees for Houston is all about. For over 40 years, Trees for Houston has planted and maintained over 880,000 trees across the city. Let me say that again. 880,000 trees, transforming schools, parks, and communities one tree at a time. And guess what? You can be part of this movement too. Whether you want to donate, volunteer, or request free trees for your neighborhood, it's easy. In fact, I donated on behalf of my family, and let me tell you, it feels great knowing that every dollar helps Trees for Houston plant more trees, create more shade, and grow a healthier Houston for future generations. No amount is too small, and you can help put a tree in the ground. Visit treesforhouston.org right now to get involved or donate. That's treesforhouston.org. Do something today for a greener tomorrow. We're all looking for a perfect Mother's Day present, so let me tell you about the Aura frame. It was just named the best digital frame by Wirecutter, and I got one for my mom, and she's not that tech savvy, but it was a breeze for her to set up. The best part, once she was connected to the Aura app, all of my siblings and so many cousins all over the country, we started sharing photos with mom right away. Pictures of grandkids, memories from our childhood, and even one from my cousin's wedding where my mom and dad fell asleep during the ceremony. Yeah, I'm definitely keeping that off of Instagram. The picture and video quality is second to none, and Aura frames look good all around the house. Aura has a great deal right now for Mother's Day. For a limited time, listeners can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off plus free shipping on their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's AURA frames.com. Promo code CityCast. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
What sort of promises have you made to yourself this year? Getting in better shape, eating healthier, saving more money, traveling somewhere new? What about discovering a new culture by learning a new language? With Babbel, you can do that in just a few weeks. I'm David Plotz, the CEO of CityCast, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by over 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in new languages, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations. The Spanish I learned on Babbel really helped me on a recent trip to Mexico City, ordering in restaurants, shopping at the textile market, cheering on at the Lucha Libre, and I've been keeping it up since I got home. You're a podcast listener. I know that because you're listening here. I bet you'll love Babbel's new podcasts. On Eavesdrop in Espanol, which I listen to, you get to listen to a real conversation, then have the teacher host explain back to you. Then you listen again and catch everything. And you can even read along in the transcript. It's a really fun and effective way to learn. Let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting CityCast listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Okay, Pooja, what was your big story of the week?
Ooh, I think one of the biggest stories I covered this week was on Monday. I covered crime issues in Third Ward. It's something, obviously I've been covering for years. We all talk about from time but it really is an issue, and you really have to feel for the people who live out there. There was a murder on a 19-year-old was shot and killed on Easter Sunday, which you hate to hear about. But that was one of just 4 murders since
Oh my gosh.
February. And when you talk to people out there, I think one of the biggest issues that they have, not only the fact that they feel unsafe, but they really feel like city leaders have over and over again promised them improvements. I mean, we have talked about adding more lighting, adding call boxes to that trail out there, the Columbia Tap Trail
Yeah.
where a lot of people exercise. It's a beautiful area, but unfortunately for a lot of people, it's become too dangerous. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people really are concerned about crime in our city. We know that just this year, homicides have gone up. We have seen violent crime going up after it sort of went down in the past year or two since COVID. But I know residents out there are really coming together to try to make more happen for their community because they feel like they're being overlooked. And I
Yeah.
think it's an area we can't talk about enough because Third Ward is such an important area when you talk about Houston. It is historic. So many of those families have been there for generations upon generations. And the fact that they are dealing with this really just isn't fair. You know what I
It's
mean?
not.
Like
Yeah.
older people who live out there are afraid to leave their homes. Young people out there need more after school programs. They need other things that are going to keep them occupied because there are so many areas in Third Ward that unfortunately just don't have the kind of police presence that they deserve.
Yeah, I saw your story, and the one quote that really stuck out to me and frankly just kind of haunted me is from Scott Clements, who's a resident out
Mhm.
there, and he just said it simply. He goes, "Quality of life is non-existent."
Right.
Think about that. That's heartbreaking.
Absolutely. And that resident, Scott, has been living there for about 15 years. He has been super involved in a lot of city issues. He goes to city council meetings. He reaches out to HPD
Mm,
all the time. I mean, every HPD officer knows his name.
yeah.
And when you talk to him, it really is, you get a feeling of just frustration and hopelessness because he has been trying over and over and over again. He's been receiving promises and he feels like it's just not getting better.
It's not. And Mayor Whitmire, that was his big thing, right?
Right.
Crime. Even though at the time when he was running, crime was down and looked like crime was doing better, he still made a very big promise like, we're going to get crime under control. And the perception of crime is, it's not doing great right now. And the numbers aren't as well. This is where I'm confused, okay? Because you actually crunch the numbers regarding crime. So property crime and homicides are down in Houston last year, but they're up when you look at it from a different snapshot, right? Like, can you explain some of the numbers to me that you crunched?
Sure. I think, as journalists, we always try to check our numbers. So we don't, here at ABC 13, when we get numbers from Houston police, we don't just report them.
Mm-hmm.
And we shouldn't. You know what I mean? It is our job to
Yeah.
then go and crunch those numbers, make sure that they are accurate, make sure that they all add up. Not saying that HP or any of these organizations would be giving us incorrect numbers, but we want to make sure that they're put in context. So, for example, while we were working on this story, Houston police reported to us that aggravated assaults and robberies were actually down year to year. So we crunched the numbers, and actually the numbers that they were looking at were January to April of last year, January of April to this year. When you look, though, at the entire year, when you compare 2 entire years, they're not down. And again, we're
Oh,
not saying
okay.
that HPD is trying to give incorrect numbers. We just really want to make sure that we're giving a bigger context.
Okay.
So when we talk about an entire year, that does give us a little bit more context to why residents out there are frustrated because they're not feeling those numbers going down. They're not
Gotcha.
feeling crime getting any better, even though HPD is reporting that some of these numbers have gone down.
Okay, so I know listeners right now are probably confused because at one point you just said that homicides are up. I just said that homicides are down. And this is, again, the time frame that you're looking at, right? Because I said it was last year. You're referencing this year. Just explain that a little bit more because, again, these numbers do matter.
They absolutely do matter. And I think we had seen crime numbers go down slightly last year.
Mhm.
So in 2024, crime numbers did go down. Homicides did go slightly down, but they're back up. I mean, we're looking at 9% increases in homicides just this year alone. So it
Wow.
truly is an issue for so many people in our city.
Yeah, and the perception, by the way, it's not good either, because a recent survey found that 77% of Houstonians are staying home more at night to avoid crime. And then 51% of Houstonians that were surveyed said that they moved homes in search of a safer neighborhood. What are your thoughts on that?
I hate to hear it. Don't
Yeah.
you? I mean, we want to be working toward having a vibrant city, a city where you can walk around late at
Hmm.
night, go get a taco, you know what I mean? Enjoy yourself late at night. And I hate to hear that so many people are afraid, but at the same time, I understand. You know,
Yeah.
we cover these homicides all the time, and I understand why people are afraid. There's got to be more that we can do.
We absolutely can. We absolutely can. And I appreciate you covering them. I know every time we bring you on, it seems like we're talking about violent crimes. Last time we had you on, we were talking about, teen shootings and teen deaths and how
Hmm.
they were on the rise. Now we're talking about third ward, and it's something that, our city has to figure out, and something that every Houstonian deserves better. Like, we have to just improve on this as a city and also in surrounding areas. I'm going to get to my big story, Pooja, and we have an update on the affordable housing scandal that took place at the Houston Housing Authority. A couple of weeks ago, it broke that a lot of property owners, these apartments and complex owners, were avoiding paying about $1 million a year in property taxes through this program. They were supposed to be helping low-income Houstonians with affordable housing, but the people who were actually benefiting were the landlords and political insiders. So here's the update. There are going to be no more contracts given out that will be helping these property owners, according to Jamie Bryant, who is the new CEO for HHA, or Houston Housing Authority. And, like, this program, you can read into it. I'm going to link it all in the show notes because it is complicated. But basically, they are cleaning it up at HHA. They're saying, all right, enough of this, because these programs are supposed to help Houstonians with affordable housing, and nobody benefited, it seemed like.
It really is depressing to hear that, right? And I know we have covered that story in the past several months, and the more details you learn about it, the more depressing it is. I mean,
Mhm.
these are people who desperately need this funding. This is funding that we as a community have decided that we want to set aside for these reasons, and there are people just taking this money and
Yeah.
not using it for the best purposes. It's like, really? I mean, come
Like,
on.
that's what we're doing.
Like,
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's so frustrating. This is how people lose trust in the government, and they
right.
lose trust in local programs, because this program, by the way, it's called Public Facility Corporation. Basically, what it was is that apartment owners would get up to 100% property tax break if half of their units were for low income renters. But after the Chronicle started crunching some numbers, they found out that it was only about 1%. Like, Pooja, 1%? Like, come on,
Mhm.
get it up to
I know.
25%. If you're going to do this, at least try. They weren't even trying.
I
Come
know.
on.
And I mean, I know we just talked about crime, but I think all of this stuff is tied together. In order to bring down crime, you need to have affordable housing. You need to have a feeling of trust in your government and in your
Mhm.
police officers and your agencies. And without that, crime goes up. You know what I mean? Every single thing we're talking about here is connected, and it's all about whether or not we want to live in a city that is worth living in.
Yeah, shout out to the new CEO, Jamie Bryant. He's like, we're not taking any more of these contracts. He's also going to be hiring a new chief financial officer to start digging into all of this and start cleaning this up. And this is good. Guess what? Because you know who was benefiting in all this? The landlords and political insiders. Again, they don't need this benefit. They don't need it. This was for people who needed affordable housing, and it's just something that didn't help those who actually needed it. And clean this up, get rid of it, figure it out. And I love that Jamie Bryant's taking the initiative, and hopefully he follows through with it,
Right.
because this definitely has to be cleaned up.
Absolutely.
H-Town really comes alive in spring, and especially in the heart of our city, downtown Houston. There's so much to do, so grab your crew and explore everything downtown Houston has to offer. From their vibrant parks to their sizzling food scene, and of course, those amazing free outdoor events all season long. Want to just gather the family and hang out like I enjoy doing? Downtown Houston has you covered. Head to Market Square Park or Treveley Park for kid-friendly games, movies under the stars, and so much more. To really be in the know, text downtown to 56512, where you'll find maps, the best parking spots, special events, and more. You can also find all of the fun and free events at downtownhouston.org. Spring is here, so come eat, play, and explore in downtown Houston. Get revived and energized in downtown.
Hey CityCast. According to me and my calculator, you will spend more time this week between the sheets than you will at work. So upgrade your sheets to Cozy Earth. Luxury starts where you rest. I start my evening in buttery soft Cozy Earth bamboo pajamas. Then I dip into a Cozy Earth bamboo sheet set. They are silky and temperature regulating. Forget the 9 to 5. Prioritize your 5 to 9. Cozy Earth products will transform those hours into a sanctuary. And they take comfort seriously with a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty. Luxury should not be out of reach, so Cozy Earth is giving CityCast listeners 40% off their best-selling sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. Visit CozyEarth.com and use the code CozyHouston for 40% off, because you deserve a great night's sleep, and sanctuary awaits at Cozy Earth.
All right, Pooja. Again, it's been a long week and a lot of stories might have, just kind of fallen under the radar. So give me an overlooked story that caught your eye.
To me, the most overlooked story is the fact that the Alief family YMCA is going to be closing on May 30th. Now, this is a place that offers after-school programs, basketball. I know you were from the Alief area, right? And I know that you have benefited from a lot of these programs.
I played in basketball leagues at the Alief YMCA. I still have pictures from it. I played in those leagues that they put on.
And tell me what that did for you.
It did everything.
People need to know, actually, the benefits of a lot of these after-school programs.
Yeah, it's so big. Okay, so looking at the makeup of Alief, there are a lot of immigrants there. There are a lot of minorities that live in Alief. And especially when I was there, being a first-generation immigrant who moved from Karachi, Pakistan, when I was 5 years old, I didn't know English. I didn't know the American culture. You know how I learned it? Through basketball at the YMCA. And playing and meeting new friends and hanging out with different cultures and different backgrounds and being there in a safe place, knowing that I can just go play basketball. The YMCA is so important, and it still is. And when I saw this story, I couldn't believe it. Why are they closing?
It's federal funding. We know that the federal government has said that they are going to be taking away funding for a lot of these programs. And, listen, I understand that there are multiple ways to look at this. I think there are a lot of your listeners and people who in our community who would say, well, these programs shouldn't be federally funded. They should be able to survive on their own. But I also think those people need to look at the impacts of closing these programs. It feels like so many stories that I've been doing lately, it's like everybody we're talking to is like, oof, I don't know what's going to happen because we're losing federal funding. We're losing federal funding, or we're afraid we're going to lose federal funding. For so many of these community programs, it is going to make an enormous difference because they're really surviving due to federal funding. Mm-hmm. And again, when we talk about crime, when we talk about affordable housing, when we talk about all of these, everything really is tied together. We want to see kids doing constructive things after school. We want to see refugees and international kids coming out here and making new friends, kind of learning about culture, kind of, having good influences in their lives. And we know that that is something that they were getting at the Alief YMCA. And
oh my gosh,
it's really tough to think about what sorts of things could replace this.
Yeah, 60% of the funding, by the way, was federal. As you mentioned, they get a lot. So, that funding goes to the programs, the after-school programs, cash assistance and resettlement efforts for immigrant families. As you mentioned, they're helping out, people who just got here, people who need help. It's a good thing that we're helping out those who live here. I know the membership stuff, and people are probably thinking like, well, why don't we just increase membership? Why don't we just get more memberships? Not everyone can afford a membership. It's not a bad thing to help people out. And this is what's lost in all these federal cuts. And I don't know the answer to this. I'm just thinking out loud. Let's say you cut, let's say it was $1 million. All right. Federal funding, $1 million. What is that million going to do in the grand scheme for federal programs? Like, you save that money. What is it actually going to?
Right. Right. I mean, and we don't have the answers to any of that.
Yeah.
But then when you think about $1 million on a smaller scale, when you think about what it means to people like you and to other kids out there who are using it, that $1 million then does mean a lot when you think about it from a local level. So yes, I think these federal cuts are huge, and we're only now just beginning to see the impact.
Do you think more YMCAs are going to close?
I think if you were to talk to any of the leaders of these YMCAs, they would say they were afraid. I mean, I know just from talking to people in our communities, everybody out there who receives federal funding thinks that there's a good chance they could lose it.
Man, let that sink in. That's sinking.
And when we talk about donations, because I think a lot of people's arguments about replacing the money that's taken away from federal funding, they always say, well, you can get donations. And donations are great. We know how generous Houstonians are. But I think part of the problem is a lot of those donations stay in people's communities.
Yeah.
So when you talk about, maybe people in River Oaks, maybe people in West U are able to make large donations, and that is generous and incredible. But those are areas that don't need them as badly.
Oh, that's a great point. That's a great point. Like, no, this is such a mess, and this is so heartbreaking to see. And I know some people are celebrating this. They're like, good, yeah, let's get rid of this federal funding. Why are we funding these things? It's because you're helping people out. It's a good thing. It's impacting your community for the better. So, let's do another happy story, please. Because get ready, I have an overlooked story that is just going to put more stress and pressure on your mind. Yeah, we're all dealing with the home insurance crisis right now. The rising cost of home insurance has impacted all of us. It's been bad, right? Companies are pulling out, and it's hard to find home insurance that is affordable. It's impacting so many of us. Lost in all of this is that public schools, they also need property insurance, and they're having a hard time. Megan Kimball wrote this really incredible story about how insurance costs for districts have increased by 44% statewide since 2020. That's 5 years. It has increased 44%. And you think about like the funding for schools, right? 2019 was the last big funding increase, and there's supposed to be one coming up as well. But in 5 years, that amount of money didn't take into account inflation. It didn't take into account that there's going to be rising costs for insurance. We actually interviewed Dan Huberty, who was the former chairman of the Texas House Public Education Committee. He was the one responsible for increasing that funding in 2019. And he was very open about how right now, so many schools are struggling with property insurance. And you think about local ISDs, we've dealt with Hurricane Harvey,
right,
Winter Storm Uri, Hurricane Beryl, the derecho. There's so many natural disasters they have to worry about. The expense of this has just gone up so much, Pooja. It's scary.
I'm so glad that you picked this as an overlooked story, because honestly, this is something we don't talk about enough, that these school districts really do need more funding. And I mean, come on, when you think about, like, is anybody going to argue that we don't want to help our kids?
There's someone who are. Pooja,
I guess I shouldn't be asking
as you were
question.
saying that, I know you answered it in your head. You're like, oh, actually. I know what you're saying. It's like, yes, people, some people are like, wait, we need to increase the funding. We need to do this. Some people are like, no, we actually don't. But the actual numbers say that coastal school districts, they're paying more than twice right now per student on average for property insurance compared to districts statewide, right? So thinking about Corpus Christi, thinking about Galveston, even our local ISDs, again, their insurance cost is going up. So it's just, this is another thing we have to think about and deal with. And I hope there are solutions. I know there are a couple of proposed solutions right now with the 89 state legislature going on, but we have to figure this out. And also just for homeowners and renters, this home insurance crisis is hitting everyone. This insurance crisis is hitting every single person.
Absolutely. And I know it's on a lot of people's minds, especially as we head to hurricane season, right? Because it seems like every time another hurricane hits, every time we get more severe weather, those rates go up even higher.
Yep. It's something that we're going to be watching out for. Pooja, I know that was a lot right there. We unpacked a lot of stories, and, I guess we just got to end with another happy story. It's been one of those weeks. Have fun at Smash Mouth. Okay, that's how I'm going to end it. Okay, the way we started, we're going to end it. Have fun tonight, and make sure you are singing loud and proud, and learn the lyrics for All-Star, because I think I totally got it wrong to start the show.
I'll send photos.
Yes, Pooja, have fun. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
That was Pooja Lodhia. You can watch her on ABC 13. Check out all of the stories we talked about with the links in our show notes. Before we wrap up for the weekend, please hit that subscribe button so you can get news and moments of joy about Houston every weekday in your podcast feed. And while you're at it, please rate and review the podcast. And for everyone, share this episode with 3 of your friends who love Alief or Third Ward. All of these things really help us grow the show, so I truly, truly appreciate it. We also have a daily newsletter called Hey Houston, filled with events, news, and more. Subscribe with the info in our show notes or at houston.citycast.fm. Thank you. That will do it for this week here on CityCast Houston. Our producers this week were Carleon Jones, Francisco Kilgore, and Natalie Rivera. Our newsletter editors this week were Natalia Aldana, Adrian Gonzalez, and Brooke Lewis. Our executive producer is Laura Isensee, and I'm your host, Raheel Ramzanali. Our music is by the band All the Kimonos, with additional music by Rosedale, Hip Color, and Carpe Diem from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. We'll be back on Monday to dig into the wild $6 million HISD bribery trial. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learned something new. I want to go Arch.
You know what? Yeah, sure.
I think Arch might be better.
You have my vote of approval for that. Yes,
yeah.
Arch.
Okay, that's your blooper for the day.